Urgent investigations are being launched by the BBC and Channel 4 in the wake of allegations of sexual assault. And these investigations are being launched against Russell Brand. But concerns have also been raised of how long the broadcasters knew about these allegations.
Well, the comedian and actor has been accused of attacking women between 2006 and 2013 when he was at the height of his fame.
Now, launching their own inquiry, the Metropolitan Police has asked victims to come forward and speak to them if they believe they have been assaulted, no matter how long ago it happened.
And interviews in this Channel 4 documentary were voiced by actors. You may find some of the descriptions distressing.
He's grabbing at my underwear, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off me, and he won't get off. Like holding me up against the wall, pushing himself in me.
He grabbed me and got me on the bed. I was fully clothed and he was naked at this point.
I was like, oh my God, he raped me.
I was crying. And he said, oh, I only want to see your mascara run anyway. I phoned and somebody asked what it was regarding. And I said, that's regarding Russell Brand being a sex offender.
So Russell Brand has been having his own say on social media, obviously denying the allegations. And he said all these relationships have been consensual.
Amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent, and I'm being transparent about it now as well.
Well, let's speak
now, if you watch the documentary on Saturday night, you will have come away with a different opinion about how consensual those relationships would have been. Mark Williams-Thomas, investigative journalist, sexual abuse victim advocate and former police officer, joins us now. Mark, what I'm getting to is there's the investigations, and there's been a lot of them. There's been a lot of them in the past 6 months or so of TV personalities. And a lot of people will say, oh, this is wrong. What would it be? The victim is not the wrong. No, it's not the victim. The person being accused should remain anonymous, and investigative journalism and all of this is wrong. What's your view on how these stories are exposed?
Well, the programme brought up some very serious allegations from individuals. Of course, the sad thing is those individuals weren't in a position where you could physically see them. And that's because those people who make allegations are very fearful of the backlash. There was obviously 5 separate women who gave their accounts, and those accounts were fairly consistent in the manner in which they talked. There was some compelling evidence that connected all of them. There is always an issue, of course, is when an allegation is put forward and that allegation hasn't been tested through a court of law and through the process there. What now needs to happen, of course, is some confidence for those young ladies to go to the police and the police to be able to support them. You know, when we did our Savile investigation, I totally understand, and for long years now, being in the police, etc., you know, I understand that the police have failed on so many occasions with victims, and of course, as a result of that, they're very fearful sometimes of coming forward. We have to give them the confidence now that they will come forward and make those allegations to the police. Of course, Brand is very clearly saying that he had nothing. He's done nothing wrong, and very clearly his position is that this is a matter of consent. We're not talking about underage, although one of the allegations is a 16-year-old, which would be determined under the Children's Act as being a child. What he is saying is very clearly is that all of those were consensual contact he had with young women.
What happens now? Because obviously the Metropolitan Police say they haven't received any reports to coincide with these allegations made in the papers and in this documentary at the weekend. That's not to say there isn't a case to be made here. And as you say, a lot of victims will be reticent to come forward because of the low conviction rate when it comes to sexual crimes. And the whole process of having to sit in court, this will have all the glare of the media on the courtrooms. Yes, there are legal protections, but it's not to say that it won't be an unpleasant process for those victims. alleged victims?
No, it's a really difficult time. I mean, I'm quite different in my role, of course, being a former detective turned investigative reporter. My role is very much being able to get the police to be involved at a very early stage and communicate with them to make sure that the evidence is collected correctly and then is applied through a court of law. What we have to do now, and the television makers, those people that are involved both in the Times and from Channel 4 Dispatches, is give the ladies confidence to be able to go to the police, support them. The police now have changed their attitude completely. I would expect that there will be a senior officer appointed to this. The press can make contact with them and try and now coordinate to make sure that these young women come forward and make those allegations. Because what can't be allowed is just simply this to just sit on record without some kind of finishing aspect to it. I understand why the media have put this programme out. And I think there's a real power behind investigative journalism. Don't forget, this isn't just one person, this is 5 separate women. What we now need is to be able to conclude this in a manner that's appropriate for all parties.
Mm-hmm. And Mark, as you say, 5 women with very compelling accounts, and the Times today reporting that more and more claims other women are coming forward, and the more that happens, the worse it has to look for Russell Brand.
Yeah, absolutely, Eamon. I mean, I can tell you, after Savile programme broadcasts, I was absolutely inundated, not just in relation to people that were victims of Savile, but in relation to victims of other people. And of course, that's why Rolf Harris and Max Clifford ended up being prosecuted as a result of information coming to me. I've already had one person who's contacted me, talk to me about Brand. There will be numerous other people who are contacting either the authorities or other individuals. You know, Russell Brand himself has been very clearly saying that there are things that have happened in the past. He puts it down to promiscuous relationships that he's had. You know, there is obviously an issue where consent is the question in point now. So I think the following days and weeks as this unfolds, whether or not the police start an investigation, and don't forget they have to have a complainant for that. So it's all well and good a programme going out, but one of those individuals needs to go to the police and make a formal complaint.